So, like Ty said, my name is Jake Hansen. A bunch of you heard my voice here a minute ago. I am the corn and soybean product manager and sales agronomist here at Lea Seed. I am currently in my 15th year with Lea. Um, and just a little background: I grew up on a farm just about 20 miles south of town here. Still working on that same farm with my dad. About 800 acres, conventional corn and beans, and some cattle. And like I said, joined the team here and in 2010. So, Mac, do you have anything more to add, or should I jump right in?
Go ahead and jump right in. Yep.
Okay. So like Ty said, we're going to talk a little bit about corn and beans. We don't have a ton of time, so I can't get too deep into the individual products. What I do want to share today is some of the why and the how of, from getting a variety or a hybrid from that little plot in a field into one of our bags, and then in turn out to you guys. And come on now, there we go. So I'll start with a little bit on our selection criteria for both corn and beans here. And this isn't just something that we threw together because we thought it looked good. This was actually coming directly from growers and dealers of ours. What are the things that you guys like to have in a hybrid? What are some of the traits? What are some of the characteristics that we need to be looking for? And the results of that survey are this list you see right here. Number one, it was almost unanimous. Emergence and speed to canopy was the most important thing on a corn hybrid. Followed closely with yield. Agronomics. How well does it stand? How well does those roots hold up? The stalks hold up in the fall. Adaptability. That's one of my favorite things because I like hybrids and varieties that can go across a broad geography. It works well in the Dakotas all the way out to the East Coast. It fills a lot of acres. Producibility is a big thing for us. Can we even grow it in an organic bag? That's a big thing. Not every hybrid out there is available for us to grow. So we have to make sure that we are bringing hybrids that we can actually grow and put in an organic bag. And then some of the lesser things: dry down, ear flex, and disease resistance. They're still important, but they didn't hit the top 5 spots like we see those other things. Likewise, we asked that same question on soybeans. And again, first and foremost, emergence and speed to canopy was right at the top of that list. And secondary to that was the plant structure, the height, the bushiness, plant type. And then again, followed by yield, the defense. Here in the Midwest, IDC is a big issue. So we try to have beans that have good tolerance to that. Diseases of all kinds, from white mold to, we're trying to test for frog eye as much as we can. So we're trying to find the best defense combined with the best yield. Not always easy to do, but we're sure doing our best and broadening our testing to do that. And then some other specialty things. Again, here in the Midwest, aphids can be a problem. They were this year. So trying to find beans that have that natural aphid tolerance for a lot of our customers is important. And then when I say specialty beans, I'm thinking more on food grade and some other things that are coming to market that we can take a look at and see if they have a fit for us. Mac, do you have anything to add?
No, you did a nice job of covering that, Jake. And again, just to reiterate something he said at the beginning, it wasn't just me and Jake coming up with this list. We continuously ask customers and dealers, organic farmers, people involved in organic farming, what are the most important selection criteria for you? And over time, this is the list that we've developed, and these are actually prioritized with emergence and speed to canopy. Number one. Now, that doesn't mean that every variety that we launch has the best emergence and speed to canopy. Sometimes it has other things like aphid tolerance or high protein or things like that. But we are always evaluating organic corn and soybean varieties for the emergence and speed to canopy. And historically, we haven't always gotten it right. That's that's the God's honest truth. We think we know what we're launching, and then sometimes it gets out on the farm and it doesn't perform the way we expected, and that has happened to us. And one of the exciting things for those of you that were on the first part of this call and heard Brett's presentation is that we believe with the technology-based solution of for evaluating new soybean varieties and corn hybrids using drone imagery and ground cover, we're going to get a lot. We're going to hit a lot more doubles and triples, and hopefully strike out less often.
Right, and that's a great segue into this next slide here. Just the trialing that we do. It kind of comes three phases in my mind anyway. Mac, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. First and foremost is what we call our replicated research trials. This is the very broad spectrum trialing that we do. This is all randomized, replicated. I select hybrids from our current lineup along with some industry checks, like from Pioneer and some other competitors, as well as a lot of experimental hybrids. I'm selecting from the genetics that are available to us and trying to select hybrids that, at least on paper, do have those qualities we're looking for: good emergence, broad adaptability, high yield, things like that. And what results is these massive corn trials that I try to walk as many as I can. It gets time sensitive, but I do my best here. But this year it went through 13 states with 3 levels of replicated testing, from what I call our pre-commercial. That's basically one step away from us growing it and putting it in a bag, on down to just hybrid screening, which is we get a whole bunch of, like I said, these experimentals, evaluate them, see how they stack up, and then move them up the line in testing. And all those hybrids are broken down into 14 different trials by maturity groups. It doesn't make much sense for me to plant an 80-day corn in central Iowa and get reasonably good data and observations out of it. So that's why we spread these maturity groups out and get them into the areas that they're most adapted to be in. And then all of that resulted in, as you see that number there, 9,000 plots. And when I say a plot, I mean every 2 or 4 rows that I look at of a hybrid, that's one plot. And so I don't get to all of them, but I think I got to a little over half of them this year. And then the same thing goes for our soybeans. We tested in 9 states this year. It's a little more condensed, with 5 different maturity groups, ranging 3 to 4 locations of each and 3 replications. So again, I don't have the exact plot numbers, but again, it's a lot. And I'm really just saying this to highlight to you that we are doing our absolute best to bring forward the best possible hybrids we can get and put in a Blue River organic bag, both for corn and for beans.
I'll jump in there, Jake. I'll just mention that this is underneath all of this replicated testing that we're doing. Some of you know this, but we're not going to talk about it because we don't have time. We 2 years ago invested in the research program that was formerly part of Blue River, and at that point it was called Pegasus Genetics. It's now called Encore Genetics. So we are part owners of a genetic research company that does a lot of this trialing for us, but also has a corn breeding program that is 100% aimed at developing new organic and non-GMO corn hybrids. And so underlaying this replicated research network that we're doing is a whole bunch of corn breeding, back crossing, and product development that's happening at the same time. And so we're evaluating when we put these replicated research trials, when Jake puts these replicated research trials together, it's including hybrids from all the major corn companies that release non-GMO genetics, and in corn that's not all of them anymore, as well as corn hybrids that we're developing on our own. So we're looking at them all together, and as Jake pointed out, also testing them against Pioneer and other competitors.
Yep. And so moving into phase 2 of our trials, this would be all of our, what I call just public trials. That can universities here in the Midwest, first trials, basically any public replicated trial that we can enter conventional or possibly organic seed into, and this is stuff that it's unbiased. Like I said, it's a university. It's another organization that is planting and taking care of all these, and then putting that out there. I'll hit them a little more detail later, but we had a phenomenal year this year, for Blue River and Viking, our conventional brand in trials with over 90 top 10 hits in these trials, both on the corn and the beans. So I say this not to say that our stuff is great, but it's the stigma that organic or conventional seed doesn't yield as much as traded seed. These public trials, they just prove that wrong. I am not afraid to put any of these hybrids against the best of the best out there, and we're going to be competitive. We may not always win, but we're going to be right there in the running with them. And then the final stage of trials, that's you guys, that's the farmers that are taking a 20 or 40,000 kernel bag and planting it in a 4 to 8 row strip on their farm and seeing how it performs right there at home. This past year in 2024, I sent out over 620,000 kernel plot bags of corn and a little over 100 units of soybeans to see how things are performing, in different areas. I mean, these bags went from, I believe we sent some out even to Washington, Idaho, all the way over to New York and Pennsylvania. So not afraid to send these products out there, get them on your farm and see how they're going to do. And then here, this is a real busy slide, but this is some of the results, in this case, of our research trial. This is just one test summary of one of the maturity breakdowns from a 98 day up to 105 here in this trial. And as you can see, we've got our current lineup with some competitor products and a lot of experimentals in there. And this is the result of that. What I get to look at and sift through and combine this data, this raw yield data, along with my field observations, walking through these plots, to try to make sure that we're bringing you some of the best possible products that we can put in an organic bag. Like Mac said, we don't always hit home runs. If we can consistently hit doubles and triples, though, I think that's a big win for us. And then here are some of our results from those public trials that I talked about. Like I said, we had over 90 top 10 finishes on corn this past year, ranging from 82 day in North Dakota up to our 111 and 113 day full season stuff, really all over the country, Iowa, Ohio, Minnesota. This is just us saying that, again, that conventional hybrids don't yield with traded products. Again, this is just proving that stigma wrong. We're right there in the running in most of these plots. And the same can be said for soybeans. Again, this is the same set of universities and trials that we entered, and we've got some real heavy hitters, ranging from a 0.8 up to our 3.4 here in this. And this is just a sample. I'd have 15 slides on corn and beans if I listed everything here. But this is just, again, we want to highlight to you that we are in fact bringing some pretty spectacular products in our bag, and this is all part of the process. Mac, do you want to touch on the seed purity?
Yeah, so we've made seed purity an important part of the Blue River and the Viking brand to a lesser extent, but mostly the Blue River organic brand, because we know how important it is to organic farmers that the seed they plant does not contain GMOs. And growing seed that's 100% GMO free, especially for corn, is a challenge. But we want to come to you and be very transparent about what's in the bag so that you have peace of mind and know what you're planting. So maybe go to the next slide and I can just talk about the change this year. This year we have, rather than 2 badges, which we've had in the past, we've gone to a 3-badge system. Actually, our standards are the same as they've always been, but we decided to create a 3rd badge just to ultimately make it easier to understand. So most of you, or many of you, are familiar with the ultra pure badge, meaning that seed is guaranteed to be 99.9% free of GMO. And if the bag has a tag showing that, or you order seed and it's on the invoice that's that way and it's delivered that way, that's, basically it's GMO free. Then the next level is pure, and we're guaranteeing that there's less than 1% GMO in that bag. And then the last level for corn is select, and that means we guarantee that it's 98% free of GMO. For corn, we simply will not sell organic seed corn. Let's state this real clearly. We will not sell organic seed corn that has more than 2% GMO, that tests higher than 2% GMO. So if it doesn't fit into one of those first two categories where it's less than 1% or basically has no GMO in it, then it comes in a Blue River bag. Even if it doesn't have a badge on it, you know that it's going to be less than 2% GMO. We every year throw away some corn, or can't accept it, or have to try to sell it on the wholesale market because it tests too high in GMO, and that's an unfortunate reality of the seed business. But we know we can't afford to give our customers seed that's going to give them a problem farther down the line, and we want to be transparent about that. I think that's enough.
Sure. And I just want to highlight a little bit on some of the soybean work that we're doing to get those beans to this level. Occasionally we'll get a new variety available to us, but maybe it's a little too hot for GMO. So we work with a couple out of Wesley, Iowa, that have done some pretty spectacular work for us on getting seed that maybe is testing a little high for GMO. They're planting out rows of this. They're roguing it for flower, Highland color. They're tissue testing. So we're being able to blow up seed stock, that might not hit that 98 or level, but we're getting it up to that 99% level. We're committed to providing as pure a seed as we can possibly provide to the customers here.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. A little story. This year, we had a new, I can't remember if it was an 82-day or what it was, that we were going to grow organically. So we bought the seed stock from the genetic originator, shipped it to the place where the grower we were going to have the seed corn grown, tested it for GMO, and it was clear we were never going to hit any of these targets. The seed itself, the male and female inbreds were too hot. So we had to, the seed, when you buy inbred seed corn, it is very expensive, and when you buy it, it is non-returnable. So we threw away about $17,000 worth of inbred seed. We just never even produced the hybrid this year, and that kind of, it's another, as my dad would say, we paid some tuition.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing we have to do every year in order to meet these standards that we have set for ourselves. So.
Right. Yep. Thanks, Mac. And so now we'll kind of get into some of the meat and potatoes of all that work that we just highlighted. This is some of the results. These are some of the hybrids and some of the beans that we feel not only perform well for yield, but are also hitting a lot of the other things correct that we were looking for from emergence, health, things like that. Real quick, 84.95, our best-selling 95-day corn, going on 7 years now, I think.
At least.
and fence row to fence row, the thing is just spectacular. It's hard to find a fault in that variety. From the Dakotas, out into New York, this thing has just been a solid hybrid.
I'll mention about 84.95. Sorry to interrupt you, Jake.
No,
that is an exclusive to us. We are the only company that sells that as an organic hybrid in the U.S.
Right. Yep. But bringing forward here a brand new hybrid that at least as of yesterday, we still had a little inventory of, this new 7397. This is a hybrid that I personally am extremely excited for, based on its performance 2 years in a row now in those replicated trials that I talked about. It has come in #1 for maturity 2 years in a row, pretty handily. If you look at the little data cut down there, that's directly out of that research trials. It's doing pretty much everything right. It's got yield, it dries down well for a 97-day, it has decent test weight, and it stands. This is a very exciting product, and it didn't just do this in 1 or 2 locations. It was pretty consistent across all 12. So very, very happy to see this hybrid, and being able to put it in a Blue River bag, to me, is even more exciting. Next up was a brand new hybrid last year in 2020, or for 2024. So we're going into year 2 with it now. But this thing is performing at a level that I didn't even expect it to hit. This year with the early wet, kind of real cruddy conditions we had, it come through very, very clean. We had heavy rains, cold temperatures. This thing seemed to come right through it. It fended off a lot of diseases, a lot of leaf diseases. We saw heavy rust this year, especially out west, Gauss's wilt, tar spot. This thing handled all of it, and it brought some pretty decent yields to the table with it. So for those of us, or those of you looking in that 100-day range, this is a real strong candidate. As you can see here, it dries pretty well. It's got good yield. So real excited about this product here too.
I'll jump in and talk about these two.
Yeah,
these are both products that are that have been developed through the Encore, or formerly Blue River, breeding program. So they're exclusive to us. 42C87 has been in a Blue River bag for probably going on 4 years now. Before we bought Blue River, that was part of their lineup, and it's got really good potential, yield potential. It is. If there's one thing about it, we don't believe it's actually a 98-day. Jake, what do you call it for moisture?
For moisture there, if you look at that, I think I would call it lean more towards that 100-day mark,
right,
at least.
But even as a 100-day, it's competing for yield. It has excellent emergence, really nice structured organic product with good canopy for weed control, and also excellent dual purpose hybrid for silage. Kind of the same story with 49M23. Another product that has excellent dual purpose ability. We've tested it in silage trials, and it's competed very well with other 103, 104-day products, both for tonnage and for quality. It also has really good top-end yield potential for grain. The one knock on that hybrid is we would recommend that you keep it off, and Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, keep it off the really sandy ground, because the place that it has the only place that it has really not performed as well as we wanted it to was in 2023 on really sandy ground under drought conditions. It did struggle there, but on medium to heavy soils, great top end yield potential, great dual purpose hybrid. And both of these hybrids maintain the price point that they had the year before, so they're really good value. They didn't go up in price. They're among our lower priced hybrids, but have excellent yield and dual purpose ability.
Yep. I'll just add one thing on that 42C87. Whoops. Yeah, it is as you said, we say right there, dual purpose granular silage. Very excellent silage on that for a 98-day. As a silage hybrid, I think I would really still call it a 98-day. You want that wide window to get it out, but very, very attractive for that, especially for that aspect.
How much time do we have left, by the way?
About 2 minutes here. So
okay.
We'll try to race through. One more quick hybrid I want to highlight is the 7611. Proof is in the pudding right there on the right-hand side of your screen. Those are yield trials direct from universities and the FIRST organization. Really, another one that I'm very, very excited about. We had some issues on this one growing it conventionally because of all the early rain. But organically, I think we're in good shape. And with yields like this and emergence and disease tolerance that this thing carries, it's going to be very, very attractive. And I think it's going to be a nice staple in that fuller season lineup of ours. I'll try to speed through some beans here real quick. The first one here is a brand new 1.9 called 19B5. This one I think is going to be a very good substitute or transition away from those E1993s, which have been a very popular organic bean for us. As you can see down below there, this one definitely wants to bring a bunch more yield to the table. Stands almost as good, and I think it has much better disease tolerance with it. 2155 is one of our all-time best sellers. The only watch out on this one is it does flex its maturity kind of based on where it's on its planting zone. It can range from a 2.0 further north. As you push it south, it likes to stretch its maturity into that 2.3, even 2.4 range. Brand new bean in the Blue River lineup. We sold this one conventional Viking last year. Pretty excited about this one as a Blue River. 27B4. I think this is a great transition from our old 2702. We're not dropping that other one, but I think this is a good one to look at. Get them side by side and see how they're doing. As you can see there again in those yield trials, pretty dominant performance all across Iowa, Illinois, even into Ohio. So again, real positive response to this being. Been liking the looks of it a lot. And then 3418, the last one I'll touch on quick. 3.4, again, strong performances showing up in central Iowa and moving east into Indiana even. This is actually one of Scott Osborne's picks that he's seeing doing a lot of good things on organic farms. It's shading rows, it's getting out of the ground, and it's bringing some good disease resistance to the table here as well. And so the last thing I want to talk about real quick, and I'm sure Mac will chime in, is just overall seed quality this year. The way this year went with all those early rains and cool temperatures, I think the question on a lot of folks' minds is, what's the germination, what's the quality going to be like? Talking with Brian White here in the office, my counterpart on the production side, we're very confident so far in what we've cleaned and what we've bagged and what we've tested. Things turned out better than we could have hoped for given the year. We did lose some production, like I said, but mostly due to early rains. So we knew early on that we were going to lose a little bit of production. It's not from bad germs or seed quality of what we did harvest. Things are looking really good. Seed sizes are better than expected for most hybrids. So again, very, very pleased. The outlook on the quality of the seed that's coming so far, very good. On the soybean side, what we did notice this year, the earlier maturity beans are going to be a little smaller this year, kind of similar to last year. You're going to see more seed sizes closer to that 3,000 per pound mark. Later maturity or fuller season beans got to that more average, so they're going to be more in that, say, 24 to 2,600 seeds per pound, give or take. And germ tests so far down just a touch, but they're still hovering around that 90% mark, give or take a few percent. So again, supplies are decent. We're very happy with the way things are turning out. Like I said, they're better than we could have expected them to be, given how poorly the year started out for us.
Thanks, Jake. Nice job. I think the only thing I would add to this comment is just please note that when you order soybean seed from us, we sell it in 2 different unit sizes. So some of the soybeans are sold in 140,000 seed unit, and some of the soybeans are sold in 110,000 seed unit. And that is listed in the product guide and also on the website in the performance table, or you can talk to your RSM or a salesperson at Already Seed and make sure that you understand when it's not if you order bags, some of the bags are going to have 110,000 and some of the bags are going to have 140,000. So make sure you know what you're ordering.
Yeah, and with that, I'll just reiterate what Brett said earlier this morning is thank you. Thank you for your business. Thank you for spending your time with us this morning. It really does mean a lot to us.
Yep, I echo that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you all. I know we got one quick question here. Did you see any gaseous wilts or tar spot? Do you see that kind of being a little more of a problem coming up, or how are your observations for this year?
This year conditions were right out west. We did see some gaseous wilt, but it wasn't as detrimental as southern rust was. That was real big this year with all the south winds and the way the weather went. We did see quite a bit of that. Tar spot in our immediate region was not as prevalent this year as it has been in the past, but I heard a lot of reports as we moved east into eastern Illinois, Indiana, southern Michigan. It was real big out there this year. So that is always something that I'm on the lookout for. I am evaluating for it. A lot of the newer hybrids that you see in our book that say new are coming with pretty strong tar spot tolerances. So they're not going away, either of those diseases. So it is something that I'm always keeping in the forefront of my mind when I'm evaluating and making sure that we are selecting hybrids that have some good tolerance to both.